what kind of yoga practice you find in our retreats and what kind of yoga practice you find in our courses. Both in our retreats and in our weekly courses, Tantra and Yoga, we practice a mode of Hatha Yoga that is directed primarily towards inner transformation. Different methods of yoga, and today there are many kinds of yoga. Different methods of yoga have different emphasis, some flexibility, some strength, some for dynamism. And for us, essentially, we focus the yoga practice in a way to create an inner configuration. So our position of the body will create a certain attitude. Sometimes the way the muscles are pressed, the way the different position is, will create an inner attitude. And that inner attitude, if maintained through certain meditative keys that are practiced in each one of the asanas, so by having the posture on one side and the meditative keys on the other side, we are able to create through each one of the postures a particular inner state. There was a recent research of Amy Cuddy. She had this millions and millions of YouTube on her TED Talk, where she asked people to stay in power postures or in weak postures. Power postures are postures where the body occupies a lot of space, yeah, like this, like that. And when people stay in such power postures, they were checked. Their hormones were checked through their saliva before and after, staying in a power posture for 2 minutes. Level of cortisol goes down, less stress. Level of testosterone goes up, more purpose, more confidence, just 2 minutes of power postures. In the tantric scriptures that speak of Hatha Yoga, and we have Shiva Samhita, Giranda Samhita, Goraksha Samhita, and Hatha Yoga Pradipika, let's say as the main four, many of the body postures are described. First, how do you do it? And second, what are the effects? Side by side with some physiological effects, and yes, it says in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, it will make your waistline very slender and so forth, and will make your voice very beautiful, and give you a strong body, but also there are positions that create a wonderful state of affection, there are positions that create confidence, there are positions that create concentration, and as such, the Hatha Yoga postures are means of creating an inner transformation. So the positions are done as we practice it, both in the course and in our retreats, with eyes closed and taking enough time for each position. So we don't stretch the positions to very, very difficult measures. Yeah, so we don't do postures that are very hard to make, but do positions that are sufficiently challenging, but that we can stay for 2, 3, 5, 7, some of them even 10 minutes, in order to attain and to awaken the inner transformation that the bodily posture creates. So the body is a leverage to create a form of meditation, and that meditation would create an inner transformation. Hatha Yoga itself, so the physical side of yoga, is a branch of Tantra. It was founded by tantric masters such as Matsyendra Nath and Goraksha Nath, with the whole Nath-lineage, which is a tantric lineage. The story of the formation of Hatha Yoga, the folklore story, so not necessarily a very precise historical story, but a folklore story of the formation of Hatha Yoga, goes like this. Thousands of years ago, you would not have, if you were to search for yoga, if you were to Google yoga, 1,500, 2,000 years ago, you would find people in meditation, prayer postures, or service postures. There was no physical positions as we know today of yoga. The 4 traditional types of yoga that we find from ancient times, so we have yogic scriptures from the Upanishads and the Vedas 3,000-4,000 years ago at least, some say much older than that. The 4 types of yoga are Karma Yoga, the yoga of action and service, or selfless service, Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion, Raja Yoga, the yoga of concentration, and Jnana Yoga, the yoga of deep self-inquiry. Now, all of these forms of yoga require quite a high inner state to enter them. And then the birth of Hatha Yoga begins with, like I mentioned, a folklorical story where the mother of the universe, Shakti or Parvati, goes to her husband Shiva, and like a good wife, she starts complaining. And she says, Shiva, my beloved, my husband, our children, oi oi oi, look at the human beings. You gave them forms of yoga so that they can attain spiritual perfection, so that they can reach you. But they can't walk these methods of yoga that you gave them. You gave them the yoga of devotion, they don't have enough love even to start. You gave them the yoga of wisdom, they don't have, Jnana Yoga, they don't have enough wisdom to even start. You gave them the yoga of selfless service, Karma Yoga, they are selfish, they don't manage to do it. You gave them the yoga of Raja Yoga, which involves concentration, they can't focus. So they can't reach you anymore. And they can't walk the spiritual path anymore. Do something. And then Shiva, like in all the stories of Shiva involve there is big trouble somewhere. People speak to Shiva and tell him, Shiva, there is big trouble somewhere. And Shiva, in all the stories, like a proper superhero, remains undisturbed. So also this time, he remains undisturbed. And he says, Shakti, my beloved, you have spoken well. I also love our children. We will give them a new form of yoga, suitable for people of this age, what is called Kali Yuga, the age of darkness, not to confuse with the goddess Kali. This is a short Ka and not Kali, like the goddess. So Kali is dark. They had a dice game, and this was the low throw, the dark throw, Kali. So not to confuse, just as a side note. This is the age of darkness. We need to give them yoga for a little bit of a lower level of human beings. But you make a space, very beautiful, arrange a beautiful space of initiation, and then I will say this new mode of yoga, I will say it only once, it's like a ritual, I cannot repeat myself. And then you, as the mother of the universe, you are the connector between the father and the children. You will pass the message onwards. Understood? Understood. Shakti makes a beautiful place on the beach, if we take the Hindu version. If we take the Buddhist version, the place is underwater. She arranges it with seashells. We will continue with the Hindu version of this story, but know that there are these two. If you want to read the Buddhist version, it's written in the book The 84 Mahasiddhas, translated by Keith Doman, an excellent book, highly recommended for many reasons, and this is one of the stories there. Shakti prepares this beautiful space, Shiva goes there, they sit together, and he starts a long and important but slightly boring explanation of the Hatha Yoga method. And Shiva says, and if you stretch the left leg like this and the right leg you put in the pelvic area and you breathe in this way and exhale in this way and make the sound in this way and focus in this way, you will awaken the power of 50,000 elephants and you will be able to digest poison, and technique after technique. Now Shakti is life, she is the liveliness of life, she falls asleep. And he finishes, and then he realized she was sleeping. And he's like, what did you do? This is a ritual, I cannot repeat myself. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. But it was so boring. It was so boring. And Shiva is like, what should we do now? Shakti's come on, please do something for the children. And Shiva again remained calm, and he says, okay, there was a fish there, and he heard everything. So he takes the fish, and he says, you heard the whole story, and the fish is like with his little thing, yes, I heard everything. All right, you send the message to humanity. Good, the fish is fine. I'll send the message. And Shiva looks at him and says, but you cannot do any of the positions. You don't have arms and legs. I will turn you to a human being. Shiva turns him into a human being. And that human being is a historical figure called Matsyendra, which literally means fish, and the founder of the Nath-lineage. So as such, he's called Matsyendra Nath. and he is the father of Hatha Yoga. Some say also the father of the Kaula lineage, a tantric lineage. He teaches the teachings, he passes it to his foremost disciple Goraksha or Goraksha Nath, and then from Goraksha we already have the first Goraksha Samhita. The texts are dated somewhere between 12th, 13th, 15th century, 16th century. Later on from that lineage we have Svatarama writing the very important Hatha Yoga Pradipika, and we have Giranda Samhita and Shiva Samhita as, let's say, the four fundamental texts that compile this system of Hatha Yoga, where the methods of yoga that you practice in every yoga studio today are revealed, but they are revealed as means, as preparation. You do Hatha Yoga so that your heart opens, and then you do Bhakti Yoga and attain enlightenment. You do the eagle posture so that you can focus, and then you can do Raja Yoga and proper meditation so you can get enlightened through Raja Yoga. You do the cobra posture so that your heart opens and that you become very loving, until you can practice Karma Yoga, the selfless yoga, and attain enlightenment like that. So Hatha Yoga is represented in this folkloric story, both in Hinduism and in Buddhism, as a support, as the first ladder to get to the vehicle. Yeah? You can't reach the car now of the higher forms of yoga, but then you start with Hatha Yoga, and this is how we teach it traditionally here in this light of Tantra Yoga, where Hatha Yoga sprang from. Through this meditative way of doing Hatha Yoga, we can basically awaken any quality, with a sufficient amount of practice. And you're very welcome, if you want, to write in the comments below, what is it that you need? If you need confidence, we can recommend one posture. If you need an awakening of more love in your life, if you need more willpower, more creativity, more focus, more detachment, more inner peace, you're very welcome to write in the comments below, and we can direct you to Hatha Yoga postures that can, if practiced in a meditative way, awaken the respective qualities. If you like this video and want to learn more about Tantra, about yoga, about psychology, emotional healing, lives of saints, and the scriptures,
then hit the bell, like, subscribe, and you'll never miss an upload. Thank you so much.